This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV, it's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
So good, so good, so good.
Get ready, because it's time to save at your Nordstrom Rack store. Now through February 23rd, take an extra 40% off red tag clearance boots, jackets, and sweaters. We're talking the best cold weather styles from Vince, Cole Haan, Sam Edelman, and more. All on sale for even less. All sales final. You never know what you'll find, but you know it's gonna be so good. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. If you are a high achiever struggling with burnout, poor mental, emotional, physical fitness, I've got Jim Laird here on the podcast. He's calling in from Nicaragua, so he may have some internet issues, but he helps people that are high income, high net worth, high achievers that have neglected their health and usually resort to doing more and more, resulting in more burnout. And he helps people get out of that and practice more self-care. So if that's you, I'm really happy to have him on and bring value to the audience. So Jim, welcome.
No, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Briefly introduce yourself, and I'm excited to dive into the questions.
Great. My name is Jim Laird. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for about 30 years. Worked at Division I level, spent a lot of time in Lexington, Kentucky, worked with everything from professional athletes to everyday people. Most of the people that come to me are usually type A, usually I joke that it's much harder to train an overachiever than it is to train a lazy person. A lazy person will do exactly what you tell them. You won't do more. Whereas a person that's type A, overachiever, if you say, hey, cut down 3 trees, they come back the next day, they've cut the whole forest down. Or if they walk for 10 minutes, they'll come back to me and say, hey, my back started hurting. I'm like, your back started hurting walking? I walked for an hour and a half. I'm like, I asked you to walk for 10 minutes. A lot of times overachievers have a really hard time. The thing that makes them successful is also the thing that kind of gets them in trouble. And I fall into that category as well.
Yeah. Interesting. And we'll talk about when the first thing is just recognizing the signs and symptoms, and why do high achievers struggle with self-care?
I think it's just the do more, sleep when you're dead kind of mentality. And a lot of times high achiever are highly driven. I was highly driven because I had some stuff from my past that was driving me to achieve, to get validation from my success, so to speak. There's a lot of that. A lot of people that are high level are being driven by certain things, like Mike Tyson was driven because of childhood, to fighting. You know, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, they were driven by that chip on their shoulder, which is totally fine. You know, I think because of the internet, because of the Instagram, there's a lot of people that look at these people and they look at outliers. They look at a guy like Goggins, right, who's driven himself to the ground. And they say, well, if he can do it, I can obviously do it too. And they don't realize that these people pay a price eventually. And there are people like Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan, people that can not sleep, win NBA championships, and seem to have no side effects health-wise. But not everyone is like that. Not everyone can drive their body like a stolen car. I got away with it from the time I was about 16 or 17 until about 35. Who ended up getting ulcerative colitis. That's a long time to drive your body like a stolen car. But eventually I had to pay the price. And so a lot of people, they get 40, 50 years old, and they're, doctors, lawyers, whatever, and they've neglected sleep. They've gotten away with it. They get on TRT or they get on thyroid because their energy levels are going down, and they don't actually fix the root cause, and they end up crashing their car at 100 miles an hour instead of 30 miles an hour.
Yeah. And that's a great segue into one thing is talking about is this idea, because people are highly driven, and there's when they have downtime, they get angst, they get antsy, they get restless, they feel guilty. Yeah. Why is that? And how do you manage that?
A lot of that, for me anyways, I can speak about my experience. I just didn't know who I was as a person. I had a lot of things. I had some anger and hate issues, some resentment that I needed to get rid of. And I just couldn't sit quietly or calmly. A lot of people that are overachievers, the only way they can go to sleep is if they're completely exhausted. They don't feel comfortable in silence. And they've always got to be doing more. They've always got to be doing something. They go for a walk and they have to be listening to podcasts, or they have to be talking on the phone. They can't just be still and know and relax and walk. And so a lot of times, a lot of it is getting people to slow down enough to become self-aware of the crap they have in their closet that they continue to just push and push into the closet. And then one day it just all comes crashed out and they have to deal with it. So a lot of it is getting people to, like, a lot of people don't realize how much stress they're actually under until we put something like an Aura ring on them. I like the Aura ring because you can wear it in airplane mode and you can actually see your data, your HRV, your resting heart rate, your respiratory rate. You can see actually what your body, your nervous system is doing. And then people are like, wow, holy crap, I've gone 2 months without 1 minute of restorative time during my day. I think modern life doesn't help. I think modern life, I compare it to getting in your car, starting it up and revving the living hell out of the engine all day and never driving anywhere. So a lot of people are in front of a screen all day. I think that's much higher stress level. Your body perception of stress is much higher being in front of a screen than it would be if you were out mowing your grass or doing some sort of manual labor. I think manual labor is very restorative to humans, but we've pretty much taken that out of our lives. And so I think the low level manual stress combined with, broken circadian rhythm, not getting outside. I think all of that is just an appetite. I call it a symphony of destruction. Leads to overeating and compulsive behavior and all that sort of stuff. It's a very simple, but yet complex thing at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are some very fascinating insights. And so the next question is, how can high achievers and high performers balance this ambition and this self-care? How do they do it?
I first got this concept from Paul Chek when I got colitis. Paul Chek basically said, hey, in order to work out, you got to work in, because I was using exercise to manage my hate and my anger. And I wasn't doing I thought the day off from working out was basically day, but I worked a 12-hour day on that day. I wasn't actually resting. So it's like night and day. You've got to have the opposite. You've got to have the equal amount. You got to have light and dark. In certain seasons, summertime, especially if you go in the northern latitudes, the sun is up, like for where I'm from in Canada, the sun is up almost all night in the summer. But it's also in the winter, it balances itself out and it's like the sun doesn't come up at all. And most of the animals hibernate in the wintertime, the bears and things like that. So our lives have become like summer year round, where it's always daylight. It's always a constant temperature. There's no down season. I'm not an ultra religious person, but there's a song by the Byrds that actually comes from the Bible. It's called Turn, Turn. For every season, turn, turn, there is a season, turn, turn. It's just like in a sporting season. You have a competitive season, you have an off season where you do some different things and you don't practice as much. Maybe you do some different types of activities. And generally people that are highly driven, they just get in this go mentality and they don't work in like these rest periods. So if I have somebody who's like a high level attorney or a doctor who has to push, we have to set them by like float. Let's go do a float tank session once a week. Let's schedule an acupuncture. Let's schedule a massage. A lot of times these people have to have this downtime scheduled into their calendar. They won't do it. Simple things like non-sleep deep rest, maybe once a day, telling guys, hey, like 3 times a day, let's go for a 10-minute walk. But the walk is more about observation. It's more about, listening to the birds, breathing through your nose, not about burning calories. And we're going to leave the phone behind and we're just going to actually relax. And most people respond really well to just having a little of downtime into their life. And I had a lady, very high level executive, had gone to just about anybody you could think of that's an influencer in the medical field today, and ran every test imaginable on her. She was like, why am I fatigued all the time? And they came back, they're like, we can't really find anything. And we just looked at her Aura data, and Aura has this thing where it basically measures your stress levels throughout the day. We went back 6 months and she didn't have 1 minute of restorative time in 6 months. And she was like, whoa. And so we started implementing like habits, like getting her to relax and getting outside and just And all of a sudden she went to 2 minutes and 3 minutes. And all of a sudden it went up to 30 and 40 and 50. And she'd do really well for a while. She'd I feel so much better. This is great. And then I'd get a call like 2 weeks later. I don't understand what's going on. Like, I'm struggling. I said, let's look at your data. Sure enough, she'd gotten back into that rabbit hole where it's like, oh, 0, 0, 5 minutes, 0, 5 minutes. Are you taking, well, I gotta wait. It felt so good. I've been feeling better. So I just decided to do more. And a lot of people get addicted to that feeling of working hard. That's where things like EMDR therapy and also neurofeedback can come in. I compare it to always driving on the Autobahn at 160 miles an hour. And then you have to pull off the Autobahn and go into a school zone and your skin is literally crawling. I used to do security work. I worked with some high level special forces guys. These are like French Born Legion. These are people that have killed a lot of people. These are not like just your average soldier that's maybe shot a gun a couple times and done drills. These are people that have actually killed people in close quarters combat and have been like, if you're in the French Foreign Legion, you're in combat, like somewhere in the world, something's happening and you're in combat. But these guys would be sitting at a cafe and they'd be smoking a cigarette in each hand and just fidgeting and stuff. And we'd go out and do something and there'd be like gunfire or there'd be some sort of confrontation or an issue would come up. And all of a sudden these guys would just take a deep breath. They relax and they'd be like, how's your family doing? I'm sitting here, holy crap, there's somebody over there who's got a gun, who's shooting some people. And you guys are asking me like how my family's doing and stuff. I'm like, so they became flip. And I think that happens to a lot of high level people. They become so addicted to being on that when their brain actually slows down, the brain is, we don't like this. We're in the school zone. Let's spike court. I see it a lot with people in their sleep. They wake up in the middle of the night. A lot of it is because they're in front of a screen all day, but part of it, I think, is their brain starts to slow down and relax. And the brain's just, we don't like this. And then spikes cortisol, revs things up. I had to do neurofeedback and EMDR therapy to teach my brain how to be comfortable with being in a relaxed state because my body didn't like it.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai-iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
Interesting. And the practical, what are some of the best self-care habits for high achievers?
I think just making time in your schedule for just getting out, moving apart and just sit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes and just close your eyes, put the tongue in the roof of your mouth, breathe through your nose, slow your breathing down. When you're in the car, driving in the car, put the tongue in the roof of your mouth, breathe through your nose, slow your breathing down, be in the moment. When you're in the store, do that. Maybe you need to outsource some things so you have more free time. Maybe you need to hire a meal prep service. So you have more time to go do things like restorative yoga. Just put a little more energy in emptying your bathtub. We have this thing called the stress bathtub. When you're younger, the stress bathtub is massive. As you get older, it shrinks. And things that basically empty the bathtub are like sleep and good nutrition and relaxation, time with loved ones, things like that. And if your bathtub is like a quarter full, and you experience a really stressful event like a car accident, there's a reason why people get autoimmune diseases after traumatic events like divorce or car accidents, because it spills their stress bathtub over and floods the kitchen out. Do you want to make sure that bathtub is essentially half full or quarter full? You don't have to become a Buddhist monk. You might need to become a Buddhist monk to dig yourself out of the hole you've dug. But that's a totally different topic. But we want to make sure we have the ability to handle stress and we can empty that bathtub through the appropriate level of exercise, through walking, through sleep. And then that way you're more resilient. So when you push, you can push. I don't want people to stop working hard. I just want people to choose when they work hard. And if you do decide to work really hard, just like if you do decide to drive your car hard, you're going to have to take it in and get the brake service more. You're going to have to change oil more. You're going to have to get more done. And if your car is a Ferrari, a Corvette, a McLaren, it's going to be more expensive to maintain that sucker. The brakes are more expensive. The tire, if you're a Camry or a Corolla, it's cheaper. They don't break down, but they're not as sexy. They're not as fun. You can't drift the Corolla. You could, but it's very much, you can have a lot more fun, but it's a lot more expensive. So the harder you push, the harder you need to rest. And that's basically the whole bottom line. And a lot of it is figuring out, okay, what do I need to do to get myself more resilient so I can push when I have to? And then if I have a time where I have to work hard if I have a launch or something where I have to be on top of the world, I'm going to make sure that if I have to go like a maniac for 3 weeks, I'm going to schedule 2 to 3 weeks of where maybe I'm working at 60%, 50% capacity. I'm going to train people below me that can take up the slack so that I can step away and I can take care of myself so that I can pace myself and basically make it over the long haul.
Mm. Yeah, and what I really love is you're talking about pacing and sprint and versus marathon. One thing I noticed is some people they only need a day off and then they're back, and then some people need a week or 2 weeks. How do you? What are your thoughts of reconciling that?
It's highly individual, right? And if somebody's driven like a stolen car for 30 years and all of a sudden they can't get out of bed without drinking a whole pot of coffee, it's going to take a little time to get us back. And the problem is with people that have driven their body that hard, as soon as they start feeling a little bit better, they take off like a rabbit. And I'm just like, slow down. I have to teach them like, okay, dude, like you need to stop when you start feeling really good is when you need to stop. Like I grew up in Northern Canada. We have Edmonton, Alberta. We'd have to drive to Calgary or we'd have to drive to Saskatoon or Regina. There are stretches of road where there's nobody for hundreds of miles. And it's like, it could be 40 below, there could be a blizzard. And so you never want to let your gas tank go below a quarter of a tank. Because if you like break down on the side of the road and it's minus 40, we would have candles and blankets and things like that. But you don't want to run out of gas. So in Canada, I would never let my gas tank go below a quarter. And it's the same with life. Like you never want to drive your body so hard unless it's an emergency and it's a survival situation, then that's a totally different animal. Then you do whatever you got to do to get the job done. But very rarely are people in those kind of situations. They create these situations a lot of times. And that gets into another issue. People do not do well when things are going well. They have to create drama and relationships and things like that to make themselves feel better, to get that rush. People that are adrenaline junkies, those are fun people to work with. So it's highly individual. Some people I'm good. If I have 3 days off, I start getting a little crazy. 3 days is pretty much all I need. A good motorcycle ride for me where I'm present in the moment, I'm having to pay attention or I die. That really helps me. Like I go on a 4 or 5 hour motorcycle trip and I'm in the moment, I'm present. That's relaxing for me. So a lot of times it's different things for different people. It could be surfing. It could be scuba diving. A lot of it, I think, is getting out in nature. But a lot of that is just problem solving. Like I have the 5 fundamental habits, which is walk outside 3 times a day. That checks off blood sugar regulation, relaxation, circadian rhythm, all that in 10 minutes. And then protein at every meal, get the lights off at night, another circadian rhythm thing, high quality water, preferably spring water, and social connection. Those are my 5 pillars. So we start with those, we improve those, and then it's a matter of experimenting, trying different things. And that's where the data comes in, because some people, you add something and you don't see any results for a little while, but then you see a subtle change in the ring data. Deep sleep, 5 more minutes deep sleep this week. Oh, 10 minutes more. So a lot of times we make little changes to maybe diet. Maybe we add in a supplement or take away a supplement. Sometimes I see people that are on too many supplements and that turns into a stress. Or they're taking 10 different peptides and they're on way too much TRT. And a lot of people don't understand that testosterone in particular, if it's low, that can be really a problem. But if you end up taking too much, you can't relax, right? That's that sweet spot right in the middle. And a lot of people think more is better. So a lot of this is, okay, you're on testosterone, you're on thyroid, you're on $3,000 worth of supplements every month, and you're still having a hard time. Maybe we need to cut some of this back and simplify and really work on your habits, get you outside more. And a lot of times we pull back for a little while, let the body get in a better place, and then we add things back in. Same with diet. Like maybe we need to simplify diet for a while. It just all depends. Everybody's their own little unique science experiment. So we focus on the low hanging fruit, and then it's all an experiment from there on out. And that's why I love my job. There's no two cases are the same.
Yeah. A follow-up question I have for you is I'm always looking for more efficiency. And so how can one, if they're always in work mode, how can someone get like the benefits, like practice mindfulness and when they're while they're working?
I think the 10-minute walks are incredible for that because you get up, you leave your stuff behind, you go for 10 minutes. And even I think a big part of it too is I've had tons of people with tons of digestive issues that all go away when they put their phone away and they actually put their food in front of them and they slow down, they take some breaths, they become present, and they give thanks for their food. And then they actually take their time and chew it instead of being on the phone and a call and hammer it. And I've had every kind of digestive issue go away just by people literally sitting down, being present and chewing the food. People that spend thousands of dollars with doctors, they're on every supplement to fix digestion. And then nobody had talked to them about, hey, let's actually sit down. Let's chew our food till it's a liquid. Let's eat our water, drink our food. And that basically, so little things make little hinges swing big doors. Chew your food up, take a 10-minute walk. And it's not like, it's just walk and relax and flow. And I fall into this too. I work online. So I'm on a lot of calls. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm always thinking about, I have to take care of this. When it's time for my walk, I live in a rainforest. I literally leave my phone behind and I walk in a quarter mile. I literally can see 30 different birds because I live in a rainforest. And when you actually take the time to look around and observe and be in the moment instead of being the past, the present, you want to be in the present, not the future. It's just incredibly calming when you just slow down and let things chill. The 10-minute walks are a great way to do that. You're driving to your car, put the tongue in the roof of your mouth, slow your breathing down. If you're over breathing, that's like a stress response. So you can slow your breathing and bring your aura down. That's why the SEALs talk about when they're going to shoot somebody in a high stress situation, take a couple breaths, bring the level down, take your shot, right? It's just deliberate decisions every single day that add up over time. It's either success by tiny little habits or it's death by a million paper cuts. The choice is yours.
Yeah. We have around 3-4 minutes left. And you talked about these tips. How about time management? That's a term I haven't heard in a while, but what are your best time management tips for high achievers?
I struggle with this immensely. One is outsource, hire people that are smarter than you. One, two, work on one thing at a time. I really struggle with trying to multitask. I put my phone over here and I put it in silent so I'm not looking at the notifications while I'm talking. Focus on doing one thing at a time. Outsource. You're getting paid for what you're best at. So hire somebody to do your food, hire somebody to clean your house, but have some hobbies, like maybe gardening is something that you actually like doing that is stress management for you, maybe something like that. So make more time for things that are restorative for you. And then it's just a matter of being smart and being efficient. So hopefully you can hire people because most people that are high achievers can make money. They know how to make money. You can't make more time. That's the key. And time is priceless. Money is, you can always get more of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And what a way to end the conversation. I really enjoyed this. How can people find out more about you, learn from you, work from you, and connect with you?
Yeah. I have an Instagram account. It's Jim Laird, GYM LAIRD. I used to own a gym in Lexington, Kentucky. I called it Jim Laird. Never name a business after yourself. Bad idea. I'm on YouTube as well. And you just type in Jim Laird, Coach Jim Laird, it'll pop up. I have the Vitality Brotherhood, which is essentially for men over 40. And then I have the Vitality Sisterhood. I don't have a real age limit on that. And both of them are just like the men's group is for helping generally high achieving guys. And then the women's group is like helping women embrace more strength training instead of training to exhaust. Like women are encouraged to do spinning classes and group exercise and all that sort of stuff. And then they're like, I want to be as skinny as I can. They're always in like a fat loss phase. And I'm basically helping women, like overachieving women, like more self-care. Let's eat for performance and let's focus on becoming stronger and more resilient as opposed to like just working out to exhaustion. So those are my two groups. And then I have coaching programs on each side of that. You can check me out at either one of those places.
Yeah, awesome. I really enjoyed this conversation and a lot of insights and a lot of value to the audience. And keep up the great work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.